I just feel like every time I talk about this game, nobody has an idea what I'm talking about. And it's crazy because this is one of my favorite series now on the Nintendo Switch, and like indie series in general as well. And the series is called Astlibra, as where this game specifically is Astlibra Gaiden, the Cave of Phantom Mist. Now here's the thing I want to mention real quick before we even really get started. This game is over 20 hours long, and right now it is 8:49. It plays just like the original game. It is a side story, but I actually think it's a really good place to step in because you don't actually have to know anything about the original game, and yet you still get the feel of the original and understand like how big this world is and how much there is to it. At the same time, you're not investing a lot, under $10, 20 hours of gameplay, and you get to experience it. And even on its own, like a standalone game, I think it's well worth the price. I know I usually don't say that early, but I just wanted to mention that before we actually get into this. So anyway, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's get started. So in this game, you actually play as a female protagonist who spent most of her life behind the castle walls, tending her family's shop, essentially every day, taking care of customers, taking her trusty broom out and sweeping the front of the store, and doing this process over and over. This is just a cycle to her. There's foreshadowing to that, by the way. But this was a comfortable life to her. She enjoyed it. And actually, the entire town enjoyed this amount of peace that they had. Although it was very brief, it was nice because they were able to rely on the guild. The guild did most of the stuff for them. You see, there were like knights of this town, but they all took care of the castle, and they didn't really pay attention to the people. And so really, the only sort of help that these people had was the guild. The guild would do everything from finding lost cats to fighting demons. There was never a shortage of jobs for the guild, as again, they were relied on heavily by this town, and it actually worked out well for both parties, as the townspeople now had protection and someone to help them just grab things if they needed, or again, defend them from demons, whatever it might be, and the guild had some security. See, the guild wasn't always established the way it is, so they enjoyed the financial security of the townspeople relying on them, and this process worked out really well, until one day, the guild members just kind of stopped showing up. Like, the entire guild itself was empty. Nobody was there. Couldn't figure out what was going on. The only person who still manned the guild was the leader of the guild, and she wasn't saying anything. She wasn't talking about where any of them are, and didn't even act that stressed out. So most of the people just kind of figured they're busy doing something big, but they didn't know what. And this was a minor hiccup, because again, they did a lot of small things like deliver medicine, or they would take people to appointments and stuff like that. But nothing too major had come up since their disappearance, until of course some demons showed up and started wrecking the place, attacking people, and things were getting crazy. But the guild still didn't show up. The demons began to attack this young woman, and she knew that she was going to die, until a spirit called out to her, "Are you really going to die? Is this going to be it? No, pick up your broom and fight back. Hit these demons." And that's exactly what she did, and you start to control her at this point, and you're able to hack and slash your way through some demons to really just get going. And yes, you do kick the crap out of some demons with a broom, which is awesome. But really, this is where the game kicks off, and yes, you do have like a spirit guide kind of animal. Same thing that you did in the first game if you're not aware, and this will kind of guide you on what to do, kind of a tutorial friend if you will, but also a very useful ally in combat. And don't worry, it's not annoying like that fairy from Zelda. This actually is a cool spirit that helps you along the way, and this one takes the form of a wolf, so that's also pretty cool. But anyway, that's where the story really starts to kick off, as the young lady and the spirit discuss that they really need to find the guild and find out what happened to them, and that's when they go to the Cave of Phantom Mist to try to bring back the guild. By the way, I'm not saying I believe in self-fulfilling prophecies completely, but how about you name these caves something different? If you have a cave called the Cave of Phantom Mist, of course there's going to be some evil stuff going down. Why not just name it like the Cave of Lollipops and Rainbows? Like, that sounds like a cave that nothing's going to happen in. I don't know, I'm just saying. You have options here, people. Anyway, this is where, like I said, the game really kicks off, and you do eventually push the story forward after quite a bit of combat, but the combat is so much fun. I have to be honest, it's one of, if not the best part of the game. In so many ways, the pacing of the combat kind of reminds me of a faster, less punishing version of Dead Cells, and that's almost how the game itself kind of plays out, as when you really do take over, you are in a Metroid-style, randomly generated dungeon. And yes, this is a roguelite, but it is incredibly forgiving. It's one of the more welcoming roguelites I've played, although you can turn the difficulty way up and it won't be that way. But if you're just playing in it normal, the game doesn't really just beat the tar out of you like a Dead Cells does at the beginning. And like the original Astlibra, you also have multiple different equipments that you can put on, and these equipments will also give you passive skills as well as active abilities as well. So loot hunting is incredibly fun in this game and often pays off really quickly just by finding a different weapon or finding a different helm, being able to change your equipment out so fast and see how it affects you. And it also has the ability where the more you use it, the more you master it, and of course, like, the more you inherit an ability, and to the point that you can bring it to another piece of equipment. And so there is this whole loop with the equipment itself, let alone there's also a leveling up system where you can add skill points to like your base stats and increase your strength, vitality, defense, and things of that nature. With how much depth you have just at customization as well as leveling up your character, to me it doesn't feel as much like a roguelike as it does feel just like a little bit more difficult action RPG. And I absolutely love that aspect of it, because also the combat is incredibly fast paced and it's like hack and slash. Yes, there is some more to it than just hack and slash, but not a lot, honestly. There's different abilities you can use, of course, and there's different combos you can kind of set up. There's ways to maximize your combat efficiency, but you honestly don't have to. It's just one of those really fun games where you can mash a button if you want to. And I enjoy that at times, as well as a really good story, loot hunting, and oh, by the way, on the Switch, the performance is really good. Even though the game looks really good, it's highly detailed, the combat is really fast, it doesn't seem to affect the Switch. The Switch seems to run just fine, so it's a good note to all of us Switch users. I haven't played the game on any other console or PC or anything like that, but if it runs out well on the Switch, then I can only guess that it's going to be good on superior consoles and stuff like that. But ultimately, this is a game that I would without a doubt recommend. Grab it if you're just slightly interested. If you like RPGs, if you like roguelikes, if you like 2D adventures, if you like Metroidvanias, this game honestly has elements of all of those things and blends it in a perfect balance. Well, not perfect, but really, really good, okay? And for $10, actually less than $10, you get a ton of content. Like I said, 20 hours of gameplay at the bare minimum, in my opinion. I did do a little bit more than the average person might, but still, I think you would at least easily get 15 hours out of it. And as I said before, I think this would actually be a good jumping in point if you wanted to actually play the original game, which has a lot more content, but also does happen to cost quite a bit more money, about double, I believe. And so, you know, to get your toe wet, if you will, before jumping in all the way, this would be a perfect game. And also, it's still really good, like on its own, just a standalone game. And ultimately, I would give this game a 9 out of 10. It's just an amazing game at a really great price. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Have you played the series? Did you play the original one? Are you interested in this one? Do you feel like you're just going to pass on this one? Anything and everything in the comment section is much appreciated. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.